Previously on Chaser.
I will kill him. Truly, I will kill him.
Are you sure? Do you really want to kill him?
I really do not wish to find myself dead because of some miserable Martian bastard.
I'm happy to see you on your feet again.
What happened? Last thing I remember was the bastard who shot me. Who are you?
Corporal in the reserve, Yevgeny Fyodorovich Sokolov, at your service.
How did I get here?
I do not know the people who shot you, but when they were about to finish you off, in a flash, a man in black appeared and made them retreat with a few very accurate shots. Then he knelt beside you and gave you an injection of something. When he left, I put you on the Gatsik and brought you to my little dwelling. For hours I had to dig around in you to extract the bullets. But when they closed the Cosmodrome 5 years ago, my son ended up without a job and started to drink, like everybody, you know. And then, when the Cosmodrome was bought by the Dagestanian, what is his name? Abdul Hamid. But people call him Kabir.
Kabir? I've got unfinished business with him. Where can I find him?
At the Cosmodrome. Less than 20 miles from here. Wait. Cosmodrome Nakhodjayetse. Here. But it is a real fortress. Without inside help, you will certainly not get there.
And what about your son? Did he somehow get inside?
I do not know. Maybe yes, maybe no. But he must get out of the labor camp first.
That wouldn't be a problem.
If you get him out of there, he will certainly try to help you. But wait until morning. By night, the Taiga is treacherous. Take my scooter. It is a piece of old scrap, but it will survive anything. With the railway, you will get directly to the camp. God bless you.
Yevgeny, thank you.
Have you forgotten something?
Hello and welcome back. If you thought a gunshot or two would have stopped Chaser, well, you're wrong. thanks to a mysterious man in black, who I guess was the guy who killed our wizened old friend at the end of the previous cutscene, we now find ourselves in a gulag where we're trying to free that wizened old guy's son. Right off the bat, we've got a particularly good selection of weapons. The sniper scope itself comes in handy for this part of the level, but this part doesn't really last for very long. We end up changing fairly shortly. In fact, other than that first guy that we killed in our immediate vicinity, there's only one other guy within the gulag. Everyone else is stationed in the sentry posts on the outside. And in fact, there are no prisoners to see at all within this particular area. I'm guessing they're all either inside the barracks or within the main complex itself. Barracks themselves are locked, which I'm presuming means that there's no one inside, because I think the point of having the barracks within a fenced off area is that they are open and they remain open and you can come and go as you please, but because it's obviously snowy Russia, you don't want to come in and out. So for us, we just have to find another major building to try and free the prisoner. Exactly how we're going to manage this, the game doesn't really tell us. In fact, this upper area that we're in at the moment, we're only here just briefly before we head inside the building. After that, it's more or less just down, down, down underground until we find where the prisoners are. No matter how hard I try here, I just cannot shoot this guy in the face, so excuse me, it's going to take a little while. You may have noticed a big hole in the ground next to where we started. That appears to lead down into a mine, and I'm guessing it's where the supplies are brought out from. The prison itself appears to be some kind of mining operation, and I guess it pays to put the prisoners to some sort of use if you're going to be doing it in the middle of nowhere. We're all done with the outside, so let's take a trip inside and see what we can get up to. Right off the bat, things don't look very sanitary around here. You'll see that the place is kind of falling apart no matter which area we go in, but I guess that's kind of to be expected. Over in this corner we've got some explosive barrels. I guess they exist to remind you that you can use them throughout this level. If you really needed to, and we do now and then, but it's not very common. It would appear that the barrels are there so that you know you can shoot them later on, but it could just as well be the case that they put it in to spice things up a little bit at the very start, because this room is very empty. These enemies all in white are the Arctic Commandos, which is a little strange to find them in a gulag, I guess. I mean, I'm sure they would serve their purpose as guards, but really to be commandos and have to be looking after prisoners as well seems to be a bit silly. I think they could have at least created a skin for another enemy type or something. Look at the ground under the pipes, you can see that they're leaking, and we've just put a little environment map on them and it looks very nice. It's just a minor touch, but it's cool. an even bigger patch of leaking water. We've just passed the actual entrance of the prison complex, and while it may not look like much, ahead of us is the administration area. It really does not look like much at all, does it? We've got one desk with some file folders, and the other one has a computer, so that may have something useful on it. This particular texture is very low res, so a lot of the words are just a mess and don't seem to mean anything. This prisoner is called Benjamin Nightingale. He's got some graduate qualifications and other qualifications of some kind, and he's in prison block C17. C17 itself doesn't exist. The cell block C does exist, but there is no cell 17. So this is a bit of a red herring. I really wish I knew who this guy was, but he must be someone for them to at least put him in. But he's not in the credits for the game or anything like that, so maybe he's just a friend of a friend.
This is my lucky day.
Hey, now we're finally getting somewhere. It says on the screen Piotr Fedorovich, which is incorrect. That's his father's middle name and not Sokolov, which is his surname. Maybe I'm wrong on how Russian names are put together, and he's in cell block A24, which does exist, so let's make our way there. Little maintenance room type area. It serves as I guess a little walkway between cell blocks B and C. Some of the cells do actually have prisoners inside, and they've got a few canned animations which they just wander around and do through. They don't react to you at all. You can shoot them and they don't react or die or take damage or anything like that. Some of them do have little voice clips. Well, when I say they have them, the actual individual little guys don't. It's kind of a ambience dialogue that goes along, and some of that will be translated later on.
Открывайте, мужики, мы здесь.
Cell block D is actually above cell block C, which is a little weird to have signposted lead to C but not to D as well. And the numbers for D are very, very large, so it's a very weird numbering system. I don't quite get what's going on with this prison, especially since some of the cells appear to be completely missing. I really didn't think the sniper rifle would get much play within the actual complex itself, but on these long corridors it actually serves to be quite useful. Most of the time the enemies will spawn when you get close to the corridor and not when you're really far away from them, so I guess it helps to have the weapon anyway. The enemies have started to actually get a little bit tougher. It's kind of a subtle ramping up, but in this level and especially in the next one, they are a little bit more resilient to your gunshots. you'll find that they also spawn in greater numbers as well, so I'll be making a lot of use of my scope on my AK here. I'm not exactly sure what the sign specifically says. It refers to a bin or a hutch in terms of something where you would keep potatoes or coal or something like that, but it doesn't really strictly mean storage either, so it's fairly vague.
Осталось всего лишь 10 лет. Ребята, откройте, откройте, мы здесь, откройте нам. Помогите нам!
You're not Piotr Sokolov.
He got 2 weeks in the hole as punishment.
In the hole?
Yes, in the hole. Pit full of water with a grid atop. You cannot stand up in it. You can only sit there. Nobody survives there for long. They put him in there day before yesterday, so he has 2-3 more days, and then they will carry him out. Boots first!
Where is this hole?
I would look down in zone 12.
Thanks. And by the way, the way out is clear. Take it as an early release. Time off for good behavior.
Well, looks like we're not done yet. We need to go to another place to find our guy. Zone 12 doesn't exist. In fact, it means absolutely nothing, so that's no help at all. It's just going to be a case of wandering around and see if we can find somewhere new. Just in case you were wondering, this blood stain, well, it belongs to our friend who tried to make us escape, which is sad. Doesn't really happen all that often, but when you can actually coax an enemy towards some barrels and blow them up, it can be quite satisfying.
Пустите меня на волю. Я не виноват. Освободите.
This is the gate that we could see from cell A24. It was locked before we went in, but now that we've released some bad guys, it's quite obvious that that's our way to go. Now ready to take a trip into the more lower area of the prison, so we can go and have a look at the secret dungeons that they have. I made that sound way more exciting than it actually is. There are no secret dungeons, there's just more cells.
Дай паха, кусается! Оставьте то на меня, я его достану! Поймал я его! Я по нем! И пойдет, костыли поломал я ему! Скопал! Уже холодный!
There's a little addition which I think was there just to add some colour to the place because it is fairly bland. It at least kind of shows how brutal the guards are, I guess, but ultimately it plays really no purpose whatsoever.
Поймайте мне ту суку!
What usually happens is that you'll just run around that corner and completely not even realise that the sound clip's playing. You'll run around and you'll shoot the two guys that are standing there anyway, and even though I guess the voice clip is supposed to imply that they're the guys who were talking, they're really not. The sound clip's just there for additional flavour, and honestly, like I said before, nothing else.
I hope you're Piotr Sokolov, son of Yevgeny?
Yes, that is me. Thank you. You saved me at the last minute. But what do you want from me?
Abdul Hamid. Or Kabir if you want.
If you climb down here because of him, he must have really pissed you off, I'm guessing.
He tried to kill me. Your father saved my life, and I learned from him that you have unfinished business with Kabir.
It is true.
Kabir will be at his Cosmodrome, and I believe that you're the one to get me in.
As a guard, I found a weak spot in the security. I said to myself that I will keep my little secret. It may be useful.
That was wise. Can you walk? We must get out.
I will try.
Okay, now we've got our guy, we can get on with things. Although that's kind of not quite the case. You can see that he's just standing there, and he will continue to just stand there until you clear out all of the enemies that are kind of blocking him from getting onto his waypoints. It doesn't really make much sense, but you do have to scour the area for all of the enemies and kill them all before he'll even think about budging from that initial spot. Once he does start moving, then he's fine to carry on after you, but he will not move until you clear out everything, and it's very confusing the first time you might play this. This direction of cell blocks is actually a dead end as well, but if we look inside one of the cells, we can see that there's a guy just standing in there. I don't know what the interior of all the cells look like. I don't know if they've got the holes in the floor that the other one has, but every now and then you'll see one of the cells has a guy standing inside, so I think they only went to the effort of actually putting in the hole in the floor on that one particular cell that Piotr was in, and none of the other ones. Oh, minor video glitch there for some reason. And this area is actually another dead end. We'll end up just kind of hooking about in here, not really getting up to much. Although we don't know it yet, that area above the pipes is where we're supposed to be going, and we'll be seeing it from the other side fairly soon. The technical thing we see here is that water areas are actually comprised of two components. You've got the plane, which provides the actual water effect, which is what we've got here, and then you have the like in other traditional watery games, you've got a box which says "I am water," and that box just is not here. So we can go underneath the water here, and it still looks the same, and we don't drown or anything. Okay, Piotr looks like he's ready to go, and he's certainly moved off the spot, so we can make our way up some steps just to the side, and he'll follow us at a distance, but mostly he'll stay out of the way and leave us to kill whatever's in front of us. Come on, you jerk. he does keep his distance quite effectively. At this particular area there's a barrel and he will follow up right behind you, so if the barrel gets shot, you and he will take damage, and it's obviously not a good thing. Usually you'll die, which is, well, it's probably the worst of both cases, but still it means a fail either way. But what you'll generally want to do is just rush ahead as much as possible and try and kill everyone. He will stay behind at specific waypoints, but sometimes he will run into the middle of things, and you really do not want that to happen. You can take quite a fair bit of beating, but still you really don't want to risk it, because it'll be something where, like the truck before in the Portland level, where you just kind of have no real indication of how much health it has left, so you just don't want to take any chances whatsoever. It's a rather blunt transition, but as you can tell from the railway track, we're now entering the mine area. Piotr will be along shortly. He'll be at our back pretty much most of the way, but it takes a little while getting through the door. A little glance over the pipes and you can see where roughly we are compared to where we were before. Never really made clear as to what the actual mining operation itself is. It could be just expanding the prison further underground, or they could actually be mining for resources, although there's not really any evidence for that at all. Of course, it could just be to give the prisoners something to do, a bit of extra punishment. Rather than it just being shaky mine sequences for the sake of it, as it is in most games, I think they are actually doing some blasting, as we'll see on one of the signs, and some stuff off to our left, that they are actually expanding some of the corridors and things to make more room. Although I haven't really said much about it, I do like the effort that went into putting in all the Russian text and things like that. It obviously adds a bit more flavour to everything. You obviously can't have everything in English in Russia, but even so, it's nice. And obviously, without an actual translator of any kind, I would have no idea what any of these signs or anything say. Obviously, you can guess, because that's kind of you can't really throw in sorts that kind of thing without really hand holding the player in some way and assuming that they don't know the language. But even so, it's still nice that they put the effort in. Small scripted sequence there is they closed off the mine tunnel, so we can't actually get through anymore. This is something that we do see much later on in the game, and it tends to be fairly spectacular now and then. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's fairly slow and deliberate, but pretty much all of the time it's a nice touch. I do like it. It makes the level geometry seem that little bit more fluid and less static. Well, it looks like we're going to be heading that way. Quick bit of ammo and health run here, but I really needn't have bothered because we are very, very close to the end of the level now. I'm presuming that this shaft was closed off, maybe because it was a bit more unstable than the other one, which which just actually caved in, while this one didn't. Yeah, it leads in a bit of a U and takes us to the other side of that closed off or caved in section that we saw earlier, but still, it's always handy to have an alternative. What you saw there was Piotr suddenly, at this point in the game, will only follow you if he can see you. And there have been many times when I played this level and the ending's just up ahead, and I've run all the way there and actually triggered the end of the level and everything, and he's not been there, and he's just been all the way back hanging around because he just lost sight of me. it's incredibly infuriating, and it's something that just happens and you have no idea that it has. And so yeah, at this point I just took special care to actually make sure he was following. And right here is the end of the level. We've got a lift which will come down. It is possible, as I said earlier, to get on the lift and continue without Piotr being on it. If you try that, you will feel the level. It's also something to point out that the lift comes down, you get on, and it doesn't go up, it goes further down. So you must come out at the bottom of some kind of cliff or something. It's very odd. But it's actually possible to get down the lift shaft by falling down it. If you hold close to some of the edges and stuff like that, you can just get to the bottom alive, and when you do, it also fails the level and says, oh no, Peter's not here. But anyway, I really don't like this level all that much, so I'll see you next time. Next time on Chaser.